Hey, this is WhyBeAre back with Portal Reloaded. As you can see, we're in the main menu just for a second so I can get my intro out of the way, because the second we load up the game, there will be some talking which I want you to be able to listen to.
Ahead of you is the Aperture Science Time Portal Activation Force Field. This field will activate and deactivate your ability to shoot time portals. It will not fizzle your portals or destroy cubes.
And I thought that was important that you guys hear, because I would be really confused if I saw somebody walking through one of these and it just did absolutely nothing to the portals. And this room is big and empty. We could put portals on any wall, but we're not going to get anywhere, so let's check it out in the future. And in the future, it's pretty much the same, except dirtier. And the glass up there is broken, so we can very easily just put a portal up there and then continue to the next area.
The following chamber will combine all the elements you have learned so far. Good luck solving your first test while shooting 3 different portals.
But as I said, it's really more like shooting 5 different portals. So let's go ahead and get the cube, and we have a cube, and we can put it on the button. That's a very obvious thing to do with it, which opens up the little jumpy pad, and we're going to jump into the jumpy pad and see what happens. So as you can see, doing the jumpy pad, we just barely don't make it. Maybe if we tried a dozen times, eventually we might be able to fly just perfectly, but there is an easier solution. All we need to do is get 2 cubes, and then we could jump off of 1 cube to get just a little bit higher and fly just a bit farther. And as we grab the dirty cube, we need to be very careful not to accidentally touch the clean cube, because then it'll make the dirty cube disappear. So we place 1 portal, stand on top of the cube, place the next one, and jump. And we're flying just far enough to make it. Now we gotta bring 2 cubes over here to put 1 cube on each button. And it's a lot easier once you actually get up there, because you notice there are hidden walls you can put portals on. Because when I first did this level, I thought, oh no, how do we fling both of the cubes up there? And I didn't realize, oh, they're just walls that make everything much simpler than I initially thought.
Well done. Traveling through a time portal will also transfer your current momentum into the other timeline.
And I want to make sure you guys hear that, because that will be used in this upcoming puzzle. But first we got to get there, which can be a little bit sketchy because we have to make some jumps. Oh, that was bad. I landed on the railings and not the actual platform. I was literally inches from just dying. Alright, so one thing that's important is looking at all of the icons around you. These ones, there's nothing too fancy about it. It's like, yeah, cube falls. We all know that. But over here it says things like, hey, by the way, you could put the cube here and it'll go forever. Like, you're not necessarily going to think, yes, this is what I need to do, but if it's telling you to do something like that, you should probably do it. It's also saying, take cube, bring it up there, and put it on the button. So how do we get the cube up there? Well, we got fizzle things on both sides. So that's obviously not going to work. So probably what we would need to do, it would just place a portal like right here, and then boop, up goes the cube, we grab it, and then we put it into place. Except it can't be that easy, can it? No, because if you look at the button, you'll see, okay, the button actually connects to 2 separate areas. You can tell if we back it up a little bit. So the button is connected to this flippy board over here, and then also the door. So to complete the level, we need to have the flippy door open to fly over there, but then we have to have nothing on the button to go through the door. What that means is we're going to have to use the cube from the future, or the dirty cube, and we're going to put it on the button somehow. So let's go and get the dirty cube. And there is the dirty cube. Apparently that is where the clean cube ended up after he stopped bouncing around. And we have to actually walk all the way over to grab him, because he won't just fall into the portal. Oh, unbelievable. So we got the cube. Whoa, don't want to bring him into there. We got to bring him over to the infinite fall zone, and we want to make sure before we place him in there that the portals are in position, and then we simply drop him and he will fall forever. Now we need to get up there without touching any of the portals in the current timeline, so we got to do it in the future. And doing it in the future is really easy. All you got to do is you got to place a portal up at the top area, and then we place one down in the lower area, and boom, we can go through the phaser and we're at the top. The next question is, how do you get from the future back into the past? And the way you do this is what they mentioned earlier, where you maintain momentum when you fly through a time portal. And now that we're in the current time, all we gotta do is plop a portal down, grab the cube out of the air, and place him on the button. That'll open up the little flippy board, and we can use the flippy board to fly to the exit. Whoa, I kind of messed that up, but we can work with this. Check this out. We're going to do a double portal maneuver, and it worked out. That was not necessary. That was a mistake. So now the door won't open, though, because the button's still being clicked. Thankfully, the cube over there should be able to just be portaled away, like so. Oh, look at him. He's like bouncing in between the 2 portals. But just for a second. Anyways, now we can go through the door. And everything you've seen so far is the easy stuff. Now, we're finally moving on to the advanced challenges. And this is where things start to really get very, very confusing, even compared to what you just saw. And these next levels are called the timing tests. So not only do you need to understand multiple dimensions, you also need to have fast reaction times.
If you are ever unsure where you placed your portals or where you left a cube in the other timeline, feel free to use the puzzle element indicator switch on your portal device. This will display holographic projections of your portals and cubes in the other timeline.
So I'm going to go ahead and toggle that so you can see what it looks like. So there are the portals in the other timeline. And then if we go over here, there are the portals in the opposite timeline. So you can know where all your portals are at all times. And I'm probably going to have this on for most of the future. So here we have a door. And we need to click 3 buttons to open the door. And you see there is a countdown, and it's very fast on this button. And if we check out the other buttons, they're both behind glass panels. So the only way to get to them is to use the other timeline. So if we go over there, you see the glass is broken, and it's very easy to get into that zone. Once we're in the zone, all we do is switch between the other timeline, and there we are right next to the button. And when we click this button, you can see it gives you a lot more time to react. So what we need to do is we need to hit the buttons on the outer edges, then hit the one in the middle to finish things off. That's going to be the plan of attack. So the first portal should be like right there, and then we fly through that, and we want to end up next to that button. So we have to figure out a way to get there. So we need to do some portals in the future so we don't accidentally mess up the ones we have. So there is the portal to the future, not exactly what I was planning, but we're making this work. And then we go ahead, that's the wrong portal again. I keep clicking the wrong buttons here. So now, what we do is we click this button, run through this portal, click this button, then we go through this portal, and we need to have it where we end up in the center area in the current timeline as fast as possible. So you gotta do a little thinking here. What portals have I placed down? What haven't I placed down? Apparently I did it slightly backwards, but we can work with it if I fix it up. So there's the green one, so we need to put a portal next to it. Now the whole route is planned out, and I only need to put down one portal at the very end. So watch this. We hit the first button, and then we run to the next button, hit that one, go through the only portal option, go through the only portal option, put up a new one, and then hit the middle button, and we make it with just enough time. And that was not really a clean run. I bounced into things a little too much, so it could have definitely been faster, but it was fast enough, and that's all that matters. And here, we finally get to see some of the happy little turrets that everybody loves from Portal, except they're not in a very happy state. They are destroyed. And by the way, do not jump immediately when you're jumping across this, because I did that, and it's just a bad idea, because you have a blockade there, and you'll just run into that, and you fall to your death, which is really, really dumb. So don't do that. So anyways, you got another jump right here. This one you could jump on either the first or second one. If you're fast enough, you could do it just like that. And then we get out of this small little platforming excursion and go to the next puzzle area, which is going to be number 12. Alright, so this next one is once again a reaction test. So you can click this button, and you see we have a cube that comes out. And what are we going to do with the cube? Well, the obvious thing is we got a little platform that can flip it along, so we'll go ahead and see where that brings it. So we hit that, and then it'll get it on the other side of this glass. So it makes you wonder, hey, can I get to the other side of that glass using a different time zone? Yes, we can. The glass shatters, and then we can go over here. Now, what we need to do, though, is we need to figure out what else do we need to do. So when we put something on this button, what does it do? It opens a flap over there. And then there's another button over there if you look closely, and once that button is activated, the door will open. So what that means is you're probably going to have the main cube here, and then the dirty cube over there somehow. So let's go ahead and line up the main cube onto this button. And then we got to go to the dirty cube. And then here's where things get a little bit confusing. So how in the world are you going to have it where the dirty cube falls into a portal located here so it has enough speed to make the flight? So what we got to do is you got to go back a minute. Do you remember when I jumped in the green portal and how it maintained momentum? It does the same thing for objects. So we can do something like this, and again, it's a little bit of a reaction time based thing. So what we need to do is right after the cube goes through the time portal, we need to go through our own time portal and then catch it with the flipboard. So it's through, we put the 2 portals down, and then it flies onto the other side, and then we can nice and easily put it onto the button, which will open up the door. And I wonder if you saw that. I almost accidentally put it through the thing that destroys cubes. Yeah, we do not want to do that. And that is going to do it for the reaction-based timing. And honestly, those are probably some of the hardest ones in the game because it requires not only thinking things through, but having good reaction times. Usually I only have one or the other, but quite often I just have neither of them. The good news is that is the end of the reaction-based testing, and it has now been replaced with...
These lasers should provide a fun change of pace. Please be aware that some test elements may only be functional in one timeline.
Which is something I never noticed up until this point, but apparently all the test elements were functional so far in either timeline. So on this one, we have a laser going into this block, and somehow we need to get the laser over to here, but we can't just simply put another portal here because it's impossible. And my thought process here is simple. We need to put the laser through every single portal we got, so that means we have to do the blue and orange portal, followed by the green one, and then we do the blue and orange in the other timeline. So we look around here and say, okay, look, it's going into the orange portal. So all we need to do is put the blue portal on the other side of this wall, and it'll hit the destination. And also, it might have looked like the laser beam was working, but in the future, the laser beam here is no longer working. So we're actually taking the laser beam from the current time and bringing it into the future. And they finally explained how I can hear these voices. They removed some of my gushy brain matter and replaced it with science. And that science is able to talk to me in any timeline. Isn't technology just swell? So on this one, we have multiple targets we need to hit with the laser. We got 3 of them that are just sitting on the floor that are easy to see. And then we got one that's a little bit hidden around the corner right there. And again, the strategy is use as many portals as possible. So we're just going to slap down these portals because that's the first logical thing to do. And we line them up so when I hit the time portal, it'll be lined up with one of the laser receivers in the current timeline. And I probably should have mentioned this earlier, but we also have some laser redirection cubes that'll help us out. The obvious thing to do here is bring both of the cubes into the current timeline, but before we can do that, we need to line this cube up into the correct position. And the best way to use the cube is to hit as many lasers as possible, so if we place it correctly, we can hit the 2 on the floor. So that isn't too hard, but something strange happens when you put the cube down. So we line it up absolutely perfectly, it looks good, you set it down, and then it just stops. So what the heck is that? At first you might think it's some sort of glitch, so you just keep realigning the cube, but every time you set it down, the lasers just disappear. So what exactly is going on here? The only thing we can do here is follow the path of the laser beam and figure out what's going on. So you can see the cube in the future is actually redirecting the laser beam in the wrong angle. So the easy thing to do is just take it with us because we want to have it in the current timeline anyways. So now the laser is working exactly as you expect. And all we gotta do is redirect this laser to the final spot. And just like that, the level is complete with the power of laser beams. This next area is pretty cool to look at. And then also, we get a fun fact. So let's listen.
Things are about to get a little more complicated in the next chamber. But don't lose hope. Think about this. As long as you don't see your own corpse lying in the future, it is safe to assume that you solved the chamber sometime during the last 20 years.
That's actually pretty reassuring. So on this one, first off, we have 2 laser spots here and here, which will make this platform go up. And then we have 2 laser spots over here, one there and one there. And those ones are probably going to be after we get the cube, because it seems like the best thing to do is get the cube first, which will allow us to do more things. So we need to get the lasers here and here. And if you think about it, with the green portal, you're never going to change the height of the laser. So the green portal needs to be used on this one, and then the other portals need to be used on that one. And the reason the green portal can't change the height is because you can't say the entrance is at a different height than the exit, because it's always at the exact same height. Where with the other ones, you can say, boom, we make the laser go upwards like so. So what does it look like in the future? It's all pretty much the same, except we don't have the grid right here, which makes it easier to move the laser around. Now we could try to place the laser and put it into position right now, but that would be a mistake because we need to do things in the current timeline before we do things in the future, because anything we do here will mess up the settings in the future. So first thing we need to do is get that laser up to the higher height up there. So obviously we got to go in here and put a portal down, but how do we get back out there? Well, the obvious solution to all of your troubles is time travel. We go to the future, then we go past the grid, and then we go back into the current timeline. Time travel's never been so easy. So there you go. That first laser is now correctly lined up. So now we need to bring the laser from the future back into the past to get the one that's on the floor. And to do that, we could just go ahead and place a portal here, and then we use a time portal so it'll hit the laser that's in the current timeline. And I actually made a small mistake there. I shot it too good. We don't want it lined up just yet with the receiver. We need to be on the platform, then line it up with the receiver so we can actually ride the platform up to get the laser redirection cube. And the first thing you're going to want to do with this thing is redirect some lasers, but you got to not do that. There's a thing here that tells you to put the cube in the platform. Whenever you see that, you should do it. Just trust the logos. But we're still going to need at least one cube for laser redirection purposes. And thank goodness, the lenses on this cube are still clean, so it can still redirect the laser beams. Alright, so again, we have to do lasers at 2 different locations. We have one there and one there. This one's pretty easy because we can literally just slap a portal on this wall and it'll line up if the green one wasn't there. Green one, get out of the way. Stop being a pain. There we go. And as for the other one, what we gotta do is we gotta bring the laser from the other timeline into here. So it's going into the blue one, so we place a orange one to go into the time portal. And now that it's going through the time portal, we can use the laser redirection cube to redirect it into where it needs to go. There we are. And once you do that, the stairs open up, and then you see why you're supposed to put one of the cubes up here. So you can grab that cube and put it on the button, which will enable the door almost. We still need to put a laser up there, which is very strangely easy. That was one of those ones where I'm like, I wonder why that's actually there. Maybe it's to make it so you can only complete the level in one timeline and not the other? That's my only guess. Because that laser was so simple, it doesn't feel like it was a puzzle element, more of just a restriction element to make sure you didn't do something weird. Anyways, that's going to do it for this video. Until next time, this has been WhyBeAre, and remember, if you like or dislike this video, I will know. I can tell by how fried my brain is after playing this game. Seriously, it looks easy when you edit the video, but figuring these out, man, they're hard. So do the right thing, and I'll see you next time.